Hi, welcome to a new video. This is a little sit down sort of video where we're just chatting. It's a very chatty video. If you like a chatty video, this is the video for you. My name is Red if you're new here. I'm a painter and tattooer in upstate South Carolina. Full-time artist. This past year of 2024 has been kind of rough, so I might take a part-time job for part of the year in 2025 just to sort of make ends meet, but we'll see. Who knows? That's not what we're talking about today. Today we're going to talk about goals. I have been making goals lists for a long time. The first time I remember making goals lists was in 2010, and I've been making them pretty consistently ever since then. And something that I think has been really cool is a couple years ago, I went back into some of my old journals and notebooks, and I found my old goals lists from way back when, from 5-7 years ago. And I looked through, and you know, at the time when I made those goals lists, I had, at the end of that year, I had checked off the things that I had accomplished in that year. But I didn't really think about those lists anytime moving forward until I went back and looked into the, the years, 5 years before, 7 years before. And when I looked back at the really old lists, I realized that I had actually checked off all of the things on those lists. I just, maybe it took me a little bit longer. Like maybe instead of 1 year, it took me 2 or 3 years to check those off. But it was just really cool to look back and see that, oh wow, actually I have accomplished just about every single one of these things, except for maybe the items that were obsolete at that time. I'm getting a little bit off track, but all of that to say, it's really cool to have these goals lists every single year, and it's also really cool to look back at some of the old ones and see how much I've actually accomplished in, maybe it took me a little bit longer to do it, but I still accomplished those things, and that's really cool. So if you're interested in writing a goals list for your year or whatever, this is probably the video for you. All right, let's look at the past couple years. So in 2022, I like to write my goals list at the end of each year. So in 2022, I wrote down my goals list for 2023. So this is what a lot of my goals lists have looked like in the past. They're really extensive. Lots and lots of items on them. For my 2023 goals list, my art list, like of work that I wanted to accomplish, subject matter or entire collections even, there are about 30 items on here. That is a lot of artwork to accomplish in 1 year, especially when on top of that you have galleries maybe, or sort of like a one-off show or a one-off market, or maybe you have several markets that you have to do, and all of these things require product, or they require a certain amount of work or a certain type of work, and so you've got all of that added on to this list that you personally want to accomplish for yourself and for your portfolio. It's just a lot. So that's what most of them look like. I've got another one from 2024 in here. Let's see if I can find it. In 2024, my goals list was super pared down. I think at this point I've finally learned my lesson that I'm not going to accomplish all of the things. And part of the reason why I liked to make a really long list is because it gave me a lot of options. But something that I've learned about myself is that a lot of options are fun and exciting, but it can also get overwhelming and I can start to put a lot of pressure on myself to get those things done. And when I put all of that pressure on myself to get all of the things done, I'm less likely to actually be what's the word? It starts with a D. Disciplined. I'm less likely to be disciplined with a super long goals list if I'm starting to feel overwhelmed. So in 2024, I wrote down a lot less, and I still didn't accomplish all of the things. I have 9 items listed for art collections, a whole entire collections I wanted to accomplish. Hold on. Okay, Mochi was getting a little intense with her bone chewing, so we're gonna, no ma'am! No, we're not gonna, no, we'll put it right here, we're gonna leave it there. You can get it out later. Okay, so I have 9 things written down for art collections, whole entire collections. We're talking like probably 7 to 15 pieces of artwork in each collection. I accomplished 3 of them out of 9. That's not a whole lot. Now, granted, that's not the only art I made. I also made a ton of plaster work. I made collections for shows that I was in. I made products for markets that I did. I made a whole bunch of mini originals on little blocks. I'm gonna make a video about those soon. So I did make a lot of art. I just didn't accomplish all of the things that were on my goals list. So this year, this is what my goals list looks like for this year. It's way more sparse than I've ever done for any goals list ever. And I feel good about it. I feel like all of these things they're all items that I can accomplish. They're things that I can prioritize. There are things that I can get done. I should be able to check off every single one of these items. Something else that I like about this goals list that I have not done in the past is everything on this list is something that it's not just something that I can accomplish in a theoretical sort of way. They are things that I have control over. I don't have control over how much money I make. That is completely dependent on lots of things that are outside of my control. I don't have control over how many followers I have on Instagram or how many subscribers I have on YouTube, but I do have control over how often I post or how often I make a video for YouTube. I have control over things like that. I don't have control over how many shows I'll get into, how many markets I will get into, but I do have control over how many markets I apply to. I have control over how many galleries I apply to and which galleries I apply to. Those are things that I do have control over. For art making, I have 3 things written down: cat flowers, birds, and finish 2 sketchbooks. Cat flowers and birds are 2 items that I've had on my list for a very long time. We're talking years I've had these things on my list. And I've done a couple of one-off birds here and there, and I've sketched out a couple of my cat flower ideas, but I haven't sat down and actually made a whole body of work for each one of these things. But this year, I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it. It's gonna be a priority. I am still gonna do lots of other things. I've got a stack of flower paintings ready to go in there that I haven't painted yet. They're just sketched out. And I've got a collection scheduled for release in February for around Valentine's Day. That will be flowers. I paint a lot of flowers in general, so I wasn't really feeling like I needed to put flowers on the list because flowers are just things that I'm going to paint anyway. But the cat flowers and the birds were 2 very personal things that I really wanted to get done myself, for me, if you will. So maybe that's a little bit selfish, I don't know, but sometimes I think you need to be a little bit selfish as an artist so that you can actually accomplish the work that you want to accomplish in your lifetime, because things can so easily just come up, and it's easy to just sort of push aside the work that you really want to do, that really resonates with you, or something that really inspires you. Case in point, I've had these on my list for several years. For both of them, some of these I've had on my list for 5 years. That's a long time. I mean, we're talking like 2019, these were on my list. So things to think about. Philosophical concepts, if you will, for life. And then I also have finished 2 sketchbooks on here. I have recently gotten back into sketchbooking and I've really been enjoying it. And I think I can accomplish finishing 2 sketchbooks. It's going to require really setting aside some time for it. And I think that that's good. And I think that that is necessary for where I'm going as an artist. And I think it's going to be good. I've got 2 sketchbooks that I've kind of like been dabbling in here and there over the past few years, but I've never really taken them seriously. One is a little bit larger, probably like an 8x10 sort of size. And then another one is a smaller one, probably like a 5x7 sort of size. And to be honest, I don't really love either one of the sketchbooks, but I think it's important to just do it. Just get through them, work through them, and then I can move on to something else. So that's it. That's all the art that I have written down. And that's okay. It's going to be good. I'm still going to do other artwork, but I'm definitely going to be able to check these 3 off at the end of the year, or maybe before the end of the year, who knows. For products, I have listed washi tape, totes, and then I also have listed flat items and packaging. Washi tape is something that I've been interested in making for a really long time. I'm usually not super thrilled by the options that we have at our local art supply stores. I really like the washi tape that I've seen from other artists, and I think washi tape in general is a really great product. So I'd like to design some myself. I think it would be a lot of fun to add to that. But is it something that I'm going to get to this year? I'm not sure. I have it on my list. I'm not sure how much of a priority it actually is. So we'll see. I just need to look into how much it's actually going to cost to put that money up front to get it. Totes, I really enjoy making totes. I've made them in the past and they've done well in the past. I've had a few people here and there asking me for them over the past couple years since I've run out of them. So I've considered making them again, but again, that's one of those items that requires a good bit of money up front if I get them screen printed at a local screen printing place. So another thing that I have written down on here is block print, like maybe I could find a place where I could get some totes myself and then print them myself. That's a possibility. So I'm considering that as an option. Along with that could even be t-shirts. That could be an option if I'm able to block print them myself and buy like a small number of t-shirts here and there, or even thrifting t-shirts would be cool, as opposed to having to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars up front to buy the t-shirts and get them all printed at once, and then have a ton of stock that I may not necessarily know if I can, sell them all. It can be a bit of a gamble, let's say. So those are some questions that I'm working out right now, but those are items that I have on my list of new products that I'd like to make. Then I also have flat items and packaging listed. Something that can be a little bit tricky with having an online shop is figuring out your packaging situation, like what kind of boxes or what kind of packaging are you going to need to send the items that you have in your store. And most of the time I just make what I want to make and I figure out the packaging after the fact, and that has worked okay so far. But this year I've noticed some things are a little bit tricky, and so I was toying with the idea of maybe I figure out how to only sell things that can be put in a flat mailer, or something like a bubble mailer, or something that's relatively flat. So I don't know where washi tape fits into that. I know that a tote bag can easily fit into that category of flat, but I'm not sure about washi tape. So we'll just have to see how that goes. I'm gonna finagle a little bit more with that and do some brainstorming. I'm picking up some note cards for note card sets next week, and that's something that I have recently put into like a box that's like almost an inch thick, and I really like the way that those look, but there are two problems. One is they're pretty delicate. They can get squished and bent pretty easily, and they're not flat. So I can't just put them in a flat mailer. I have to put them in an actual box, and I have to be pretty careful with how I like put the stuffing in that box. So that's a little bit tricky. And the other problem with them is that I can't see all of the designs. It comes with 5 different designs on note cards, but I can't see all of the different designs. I just see like the one design on the front. So I've got some ideas on how to change up that packaging to make it more flat and to make it so that I can see all of the designs on the front. So we're working on that, and that's what I have written down for that section, products. Every year I like to have a section specifically dedicated to the studio. This is separate from art, separate from business. Even though all of that stuff happens in the studio section is probably my favorite section because that's where I write down the things that I want to try. Either it's materials that I want to try, or something that I want to get, or something I want to design, or whatnot. So it can be anything studio related. So for this year, I have written down shelves, design stamps, paper tape dispenser, easel, acrylic wash, and oil bars. It's a pretty simple list, and I've had some of these things on my list before for last year. Things, again, that I just didn't get around to. This past year was a little bit chaotic, I'm not gonna lie. So for this year, in 2025, I want to finish putting up my shelves, design stamps. I have written down fragile, do not bend, and cute. Right now I have fragile stickers. I just bought a roll of fragile stickers for the fragile items that I send when I send originals, or if I send something that can bend, that should not be bent, I'll just put a fragile sticker on it. Something that I really like is really beautiful, cute, fun packaging. It just makes a happy mail day. It makes it that much more exciting and that much more fun when the packaging itself is fun. Paper tape dispenser. Right now I use water activated tape and I just spray it with a spray bottle. It's been working perfectly fine, but a paper tape dispenser would make my life so much easier. So that's something that I would like to do. I have another one on here in a different section, but it could also go in the studio section. I would also like to work on a water activated tape design. I've seen quite a few artists who have customized their paper tape that would go in the paper tape dispenser. And again, really beautiful, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to find a custom paper tape producer. I need to find somewhere that I can design a water activated tape without having to buy like huge quantities of it. We'll look into that this year too. I've got some ideas of things that I could put on the tape like as the designs, so we'll just have to see. Another thing I've written down is an easel. Usually I just put my paintings on the wall and I paint directly on the wall. And that works okay, but it gets a little bit fiddly. The painting sometimes wants to like kind of go crooked. An easel would make my life a little bit more enjoyable in the studio. And I have found a few of them on Facebook Marketplace, and it might be a good option for you too if you're looking for an easel and you don't want to buy a new one. Just check out Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist. Those can be good options. Acrylic wash. I really enjoy gouache, and I've seen a lot of artists use acrylic gouache, and it seems like it would be a lot of fun. It looks like it's a really enjoyable medium to use, so that's something that I would like to try this year. And then I also have listed on here oil bars. Oil bars are something that I've used for quite a while with my paintings, but recently I tried the really big ones that are really nice. I can't remember who makes them. I think it's R&H or RH. I'm not sure. But they make really big fat ones and they're so much fun. So I bought 2 of them the last time and I've used them in a few paintings now and I really like them. So I'd like to invest in a few more and keep using those in my work. For the business section, I have written down YouTube 2 to 4 times a month, apply to a grant, reach out to 4 galleries, and move my email list from an email list subscription to Patreon. For YouTube, I think 2 to 4 times a month is a good goal. I wrote down a range because ideally I would like to post to YouTube 4 times a month, but videos are really time consuming. I'm not super good at editing them, to be honest. So I think starting with twice a month is a good goal, and trying to shoot for 4 times a month is a good like stretch goal. That's where we're at on that. One thing that I've decided to do this year to give me room to actually accomplish this is to set aside 1 day a week, 1 solid day a week, where that is the only thing on my agenda is to edit videos. Apply to a grant. It's a very specific grant that I'm applying to through the South Carolina Arts Commission. I'm not quite ready to submit it. I've started compiling all of the materials for it, and I'm not quite ready to apply for it financially. With this particular grant, it's not just apply for the grant and they give you money. It's apply to the grant and you meet them halfway financially. And I'm just not quite ready financially because of the market that completely flopped. My finances just aren't quite in the place that I would like for them to be for me to apply to this grant. Reach out to 4 galleries. I wrote down a list of 6 galleries that I would like to apply for. These are all galleries that I've had my eye on, galleries that I feel like my work would do well at for many years, but I have yet to reach out to them. My work has changed a lot in the last couple of years, so I think now is a good time for me to reach out to them. Even though I listed 6, I want to give myself room for life. And it's a lot of work applying to a gallery, as it should be, because that is a sort of partnership relationship. So I know that these galleries, they have a good reputation, and I know that they will work really hard to sell my work, and I think it's totally fair for them to see work in return in the application. So I want to make sure that I give myself space to really put my best foot forward when applying to these galleries. For the business section, I also have listed water activated tape design, which I already talked about. And then the last one is move my email list to Patreon. This is a really tough decision to make because email subscriptions are like the holy grail of getting in contact with your people who really want to see what you're doing and they don't want to miss it. You know, on Instagram, it's so easy for things to sort of slip through the cracks. We all know that most of Instagram these days is just sponsored ads and suggested for you. You very rarely actually see the people that you follow, which is a real shame. Email lists are one way to sort of combat that. It's a direct line to your people. And I've built up an email list over the past couple of years. I love my email list, folks. I really enjoy sending emails, but the unfortunate thing is that hosting, if you will, so you've got your email subscriptions, the host website for sending those emails is really expensive. And even the free ones like MailChimp, they start out free, but the more subscribers you get, the more expensive it becomes, and it can become really, really expensive really, really quickly. So I have gone the route of doing email hosting with sort of a once a year payment sort of thing, and I really have enjoyed it, but the fact is I just can't afford it this year. So it's unfortunate, but like I have to be able to pay my bills. That's the number one priority. I think Patreon is a good alternative to email hosting and email subscriptions because it's free for me and it's free for my people, if you will. And Patreon is something that I would like to work on and work toward yet again. I've tried using Patreon several times and I've really enjoyed it every single time. It's just been a little bit tricky balancing Patreon with a full-time job when I was tattooing full-time. It's also been tricky balancing Patreon with all of the other work that goes in to a business. So what I would like to do now is move my email list over there, and so see who would like to follow me over on Patreon. I know it's a lot more work to get on Patreon because like you have to sign up for it and you have to sign in. It's not just write down your email and I'll send you emails. It's a little bit more than that, which is totally understandable. But it's something that I unfortunately have to do just because of finances, and I think in the long run it'll be good. I love Patreon. Patreon is a lot of fun. I really enjoy following other artists and I love the platform itself. So hopefully my people will enjoy Patreon as well. Hopefully it'll be something new and fun. And y'all, that's it. That's all I have on my list. I've got a couple personal things written down. Just things about like respecting my time and remembering that I'm a professional. It's like a whole thing as an artist that a lot of people, you can be a full-time artist and people still like don't see you as a professional. People see art as like something fun that you do when you're a kid or something that you do as a hobby, not as something that you do as a full-time job. And sometimes that can like kind of mess with me a little bit, even though I've been doing it for, gosh, almost 10 years now, in one capacity or another, or in one avenue or another, with whether it be like with tattooing or commissions or selling stuff online. It still can kind of get to me sometimes. So I just have to remind myself that no matter what somebody else thinks, I am a professional. This is my full-time job and I love it so much. And I'm really grateful that I have this job, but it is a job at the same time. So, yeah, I have those things written down just like as little pep talks for myself. And that's it. Those are my goals for this year. I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me while we chatted about goals. If you have any questions or thoughts or whatnot, feel free to leave those in the comments. And Bean would like to say hello. This is Bean. She's very sweet and shy, and she likes to sit on any lap that is available. So currently this lap is available, and this is where she would like to be. Yeah, as you can see, it's the end of the year. Next week is the new year when I'm filming this. I will probably post this after the new year's already happened, but I hope that you've had a good 2024. If not, I hope that 2025 gets better, and I hope that you have a great rest of your day wherever you're at. All right, I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye.